Hello and welcome to the Anime Dumpster Dive podcast, where we go in-depth on an anime deemed bad by the anime-watching community. This podcast, we are going to be discussing the anime Wiz. That's W''Z. Did Handshakers need a sequel? Absolutely not, but we got one anyway. Let's dive on into it. I'm your host and veteran handshaker, Jake H. I'm joined by my co-host and handshaker that can only mesh with girls, DJ.
Hey, it's me!
And my other co-host, stargazing handshaker, Anthony.
Aw, man.
I've been giving you good ones. We are also joined by our special guest, who happens to be an irregular handshaker, as well as the co-founder of the Nerd Blaze, Kobe.
Ooh,
I got the good one. I'm so excited. It's always,
special.
give or take with some of those.
Hey,
I'm happy to be here. The irregular one. Oh, yeah, my powers are very ill-defined and don't really make much sense, and they change episode to episode. That's great.
They get away with that by just saying you're irregular.
You're irregular? Oh, that's fine.
Not regular. That's the definition.
Not regular.
So, not regular.
That's classic.
So, as I mentioned, this is a sequel to Handshakers, which holds a special place in Anime Dumpster Dive as being one of the 4 worst anime that we have reviewed. And it's been a while, because I think it was, our third podcast? Or second podcast?
I think it was our second or third.
Something that bad.
Yeah.
Too early to kill my hopes and dreams that I'd have to come on the show.
So I'd say our second podcast. And so it's been a while since we watched it. To prepare for this podcast, Kobe actually went and watched all of Handshakers before watching Wiz. So that way he'd know the whole Handshaker lore. So we're going to have Kobe give his synopsis as well as his thoughts on Handshakers. So Kobe, take it away.
You
First
poor
of
guy.
all, I thought I dodged a bullet because when I was listening to your very first podcast about handshakers, I'm like, those guys had to watch that. It sounds awful. And it was like, hey, you want to be... And then Jake comes like, hey, you want to be on our new podcast? We're doing Wiz. I'm like, sure, that sounds great. It's like, oh, but you actually have to go back and watch Handshakers first so you understand the important complexity of what happens in Wiz. And first and foremost, that is bullshit.
But Kobe,
I
characters
didn't need
come
that
back.
at all. It just, I did not need that in one sense.
Nope.
But Handshakers is about this guy, Tasmanian, whatever his name is, Asuna.
Yeah.
And he's like a mechanic, and he's great, and he fixes things, and he always gets in trouble because he sees something he's fixing, he's got to fix it. And his sister has died from a disease, and then he's at this hospital, and he finds this other girl in a coma, and then for some weird reason, he takes her hand, and then he's transported to the Zigawatt, where he has to fight other people who hold hands. And then the rule of Handshakers is that you have to hold hands, or else... I guess there's no or else.
There's no rule.
Well,
It's
first,
it's
you have to hold
established-
hands or
right,
you'll
right.
die.
It's
But
established
then
for
later
those
they're
two.
like, never mind about that rule.
Yeah, for those two, they're established. It's like you have to hold hands or else you'll die. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of a cool concept. But that doesn't apply to any other handshakers. And then they fix that rule by episode 2.
Like
it's
they
just
can
oh,
charge her, right?
The dying part? Yeah,
the
not a
dying
thing
part.
anymore.
It's like, oh, we don't need that. You can actually be apart for 15 minutes. We just needed one scene of awkwardly showering together, and then we can justify it. Like, oh yeah, you can stay apart for about 15 minutes. So anyway, these two meet a bunch of horrible characters. They meet a sadist who chains up his girl. They fight a brother and sister who get incestual. They fight they hit a pop singer who's annoying, and
That's your power.
yeah, her power's annoying. And then they fight the big bad who was like on melatonin like the whole time. So I didn't understand what he was supposed to do. And then that's Handshakers.
Perfect.
Welcome to Handshakers.
Welcome to Handshakers.
Oh, because the very important thing is that like if they get to face God if they win enough battles, and then if they lose battles, they're going to die. But if other people lose battles, then they just become best friends.
Yeah,
So-
they're fine. If they lose, it's okay. Like, you don't get your wish, but then everything else is
you
alright.
learn a valuable life lesson, and you make lifelong friends.
Lifelong friends. Yeah.
way.
It's a really nice, humble show.
The friends, the Handshakers were the friends we made all along the way, right?
Yeah. You
No.
shake hands with them for the rest of your life. That's how good of friends you are.
Nice to meet you.
So if that synopsis wasn't enough, it's also filled with just terrible dialogue and like a nauseating animation style that's like if Mountain Dew was like a anime style. It was just like that, just like so over the top and just like.
We ended up
That's
deciding
hilarious,
that we think it's because then they can easily reuse animations, right? Isn't that what we decided on?
Yeah.
If the background is 3D, then they can just reuse the same like attack animations over and over, just put them in a different.
And they did
fucking
multiple
background.
times.
Mhm.
Yeah, and they feel free to exploit that little trick as much as they can.
So yeah, that anime was garbage. Handshakers. They don't even shake hands.
They don't shake hands. They just hold hands.
It should be called hand holders.
It should
That
be
was
hand
another
holders.
big problem.
We also
had
complained about
with
that.
the anime.
Yep. So that's handshakers.
Great. Fantastic. Normally I ask, also whenever we have a guest, I normally ask them what's the worst anime they've seen. But I don't know, Kobe, you've gotten a couple stinkers, like from us.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to think which one I hated more, Handshakers or Bloodivores.
Yeah, that's very true.
And I think it's Bloodivores. I actually do think I hate Bloodivores more than Handshakers. Because this, like, Handshakers, I was more bored by and just like, why is this happening? And like, this is stupid and looks awful. Bloodivores, it was my first experience with a horrible anime that just did not make any sense whatsoever. So both of them suck. But I think Bloodivores edges it out just slightly.
Because this
This is still awful.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so edgy.
All right, cool. So I think we should actually start getting into Wiz because it feels like we have a lot to talk about with this. 11 years after the events of Handshakers, Yukiya is an irregular handshaker that can enter the ziggurat with anyone he holds hands with. This ability is something unheard of and attracts a lot of unwanted attention. Yukiya will need the help of handshakers old and new if he wants to find out the purpose of his powers. Let's dive on into Wiz. This anime...
Fucking Jesus Christ.
This anime aired during the winter of 2019 alongside shows like The Promised Neverland, Love is War, Mob Psycho 100 Season 2, and Domestic Girlfriend, and other huge hits.
Wow. Wow.
It came out in a stacked season.
I looked online. I think I was just reading like people's opinions of it, and the first most upvoted comment that I found was, "Just let it." It was like, "I just want this." The guy was like, "I just want this to sink in. Read this real close. Handshakers get to season 2, and your favorite anime doesn't."
Spice and Wolf Season 3 when?
Damn it.
This was made by Studio Go Hands, who have worked on such shows as K and, of course, Handshakers.
Woo!
This anime is an anime original show, which serves as the sequel to Handshakers. Handshakers and this were both written by Tamazo Tanagi. Please stop letting him write stuff. This was directed by Hiromichi Kanazawa, who also directed K and Handshakers. Stop letting him direct stuff. Its current MyAnimeList score is a 5.79, and for those wondering, Handshakers is currently at a 5.6. Those are really close scores, almost as if they were written and directed by the same people. I don't get how you let people who have clearly produced a failure produce a sequel of the failure the same way. It's really weird.
Could have been a
Because
commercial
they
success.
wanted to make a live action stage play of it.
Oh yeah, Kobe sent me a text, and it showed that they're adapting into a live action stage play.
It's
Well, I
already
mean,
showing.
why
You
not?
can buy tickets. You
It's
can
the
buy
most
tickets.
popular
No.
anime of all time.
No
Why
way.
not? Why
My
not?
my response was, do you think that they'll have the really bad one song that he plays when he's a DJ?
I wanna see LA.
I want to feel it. It's so bad.
Is it I wanna feel it? I thought it was I wanna see LA.
I thought it was I Want to See You Lady.
I thought it was I'm gonna see you later.
Either way, it
It's
wasn't
open
good.
to interpretation, like all good EDM songs are.
Yeah, that's true.
We hear what we want to
Hear
hear.
what we want to hear. I like that. Before we go too in depth into it, a big problem we had, and this always sticks out to me, is in the original series, Handshakers, DJ brought up the music was always really weird jazz music.
Oh,
And so I was a little, I hate to say this, I was a little hopeful. Because I was like, he's a DJ, meaning the music has to be different, right? No, it's the same music, it's the same band.
I believe it's the same. Is it the same song?
I think it's the same jazz
it's pretty
music,
close, yeah.
but it has little hip hop beats in it every now and then.
My God!
Yeah.
The moment it started, I was like, no, they're gonna do this for 12 episodes straight, and then they did.
For 13.
For 13. Anytime there was an important dialogue moment,
It just plays over slightly louder than it should be.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was ready to blow my brains out.
like the most important moment. It's like, you know what? I just wanted to tell you that you're really important to me. Yeah, so if you were wondering, is the great elevator music back? It's back. Is the horrible background animation that makes me want to pull my own eyeballs out of my head? Yes, it's also back.
There.
It's back, but more subdued. Like if you there's
I can agree with
much
that.
less horrible animation than it is. It's like
It's
that's
still the weird-eyed people and like the weird 3D mix, but I feel like we got a lot less fisheye lens in this.
We did
Yes,
get a
we
lot
did.
less fisheye lens. We did get more seeing through the floor though.
Yeah, that was weird.
That's a weird angle. I don't like it. Well, what'd you guys think of the opening and ending songs?
Horrible.
Watched it once and skipped it every single
yeah,
time.
skip every time.
Yep.
I wanted to spend as little time in this show as possible.
Same.
Looks heartbroken.
I have I hated this series. I have a anime dumpster dive tradition where I watch the opening in the first episode and then the opening in the last episode, no matter what. And I was really sad when I had to watch that opening again.
Like, no, the tradition.
I was like, I gotta stop doing it. That was bad. It was bad. It was bad. It sounded like a guy who's never sang before, and it didn't match up with the visuals at all. Which were, again, something I dislike is when an anime opening is just scenes taken from the anime instead of having like an original animation to it. And so it was just very poor.
I agree.
Why have an original animation when your animation in the series is already perfect?
Yeah, you know that's gonna bring in the eyeballs. It's like, ooh, look at this. Don't you want to see all these scenes again?
Weirdly enough, I was looking at some comments on my anime list about Wiz, and it seemed like the only thing it was getting praised for was the music, and that just made me think those people are dumb. Those people are even dumber.
It's like a real band, right?
Yeah.
Like not only are they like it's just a big dumb music video for this fucking band.
Skidoo-doo-dop-bop.
I'd say
Yeah, the
that,
person
like,
who sings the song is playing the lead character in the live action play.
Is he?
That sounds
It
about
is.
right.
This Kobe's figured out. Kobe has dissected the whole conspiracy theory behind Handshakers.
It's
This
all
band-
for the play.
This band
That's
knows
hilarious.
that no press is bad press. All right, so they're like, let's make the worst anime ever made and put our songs in it. No press is bad press.
They have to be they have to be. I don't know how well the show does for it to warrant a sequel, but I know online it is universally hated.
Maybe this band is funding the whole thing.
You know, I would not be surprised.
So, next thing we do before we go into the story, we like to talk about some of the main characters and talk about our first impressions of them. So let's talk about our main character, Yukiya, who, when he first started, showed up, I was kind of like, wow, he's kind of like he's not a social outcast, but he feels distant from everyone, like Tazuna.
I literally was like, is that the same guy?
I'm like,
I
is it-
had a hard
is
time
that the
too. I
same
was
guy?
like, wait a minute,
No,
this
that
is
can't
10
be-
years in the
he had brown
future?
hair.
When did he
Yeah, I
start
was like,
being
that's
a
a different-
DJ?
I was like, yeah, that's a different guy. That's a different guy. That's the whole first episode for me.
Well, I mean, he even summons the
No,
swords,
it's not
and I
the
was,
same.
I was
Yeah, I'm like,
what?
he's not the same thing.
I'm
I'm like, no, but his were gears, and those are music discs.
Yep.
I think it's just very similar to the same guy. I'm like, about halfway through, I'm like, all right, this is Roxas. This is the Roxas to the Sora. This is,
he's Tazuna's nobody.
yeah.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake, probably. Yeah, it's.
He was annoying
he's-
as fuck.
He plays music.
I agree. There's not much else to say about him. Like, what did we learn about him? What did we learn about him? We didn't learn much. I mean, like,
He
we
was
learned that at an early age he got
DJ.
pulled into. He got pulled into the ziggurat, and when he was really young, and then just stopped speaking to people and touching them, and like,
Yeah, his dad's like, you never hold anyone's hand, all right?
yeah. So,
Okay.
where's my character development? Put it on the list.
Not being able to hold people's hands ruined my entire life.
I will say, even though Tazuna was boring as fuck, I actually thought the characters they brought back were more interesting in this version, in this sequel, than they were in the original show.
I absolutely
I agree. I don't know if it's because the new characters they introduced were just either copies of former casts, other casts from the last series, or if they were just just cardboard.
Yeah.
It was just bad.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, let's talk about his partner, his eventual partner and love interest, Haruka.
Oh, what? Yeah.
I like the faces she made. I thought they good on giving her cute animations. But
She was funny at parts.
Yeah.
Like I did like her in certain elements because she was always positive. And I think I actually did like at the beginning where she clearly knows that he's crushing on Kyoria or something. But she even encourages it like a little bit. Like she's like, good, I would just want you to be happy. Like you should go for it. So I guess I liked her spunk.
She's got a guitar.
She's got a guitar. She's named Guitar.
Guitar.
I didn't know you were supposed to have a name for it yet.
She was kind of like, I don't know. This is where I want to point out that like this season was just Handshakers just trying way too hard to fit in. Like where we missed out on some of like the cutesy anime tropes from Handshakers, the writers really tried their damnedest to make her the most likable character in the show, and it just some of the jokes just fell flat for me.
Does her hair turn white as the show goes on?
No,
Everyone's
it
hair
goes purple.
changes. I don't understand it.
It gets more purple.
Yeah, once you go to the
Lighting.
ziggurat. Yeah.
Yeah, it changes. And it's just like, oh, I'm like, is that her? It's like I can't tell, or is that supposed to be Kyoria? Like,
Remember Tazuna's hair was white in Handshakers too, like when he went into the ziggurat.
What?
And one of the lesbian handshakers, Hannah or Hana or whatever, when she
Hana.
went in, she had like neon pink hair.
Yeah.
And so,
Okay. Ziggurat. Change his hair.
which is never established, which is never announced.
Nope.
Just
Never in any way.
Nope.
it's because there's an irregular handshaker in their presence, so that kind of that's one of the rules.
Oh,
for
well,
regular
speaking of, main character guy, he's definitely feels like Rider OC again, just like Tazuna did.
Mhm,
Definitely. He's apparently the chosen one, even though he's like literally the most boring guy ever and does nothing ever once cool. But he's like the chosen one, and only he can prevent forest fires. Like, what?
It's like, what's his arc supposed to be? It was supposed to be like learning love or something, right? Or friendship. Like,
Yeah.
he's supposed to start the series as someone who can't connect with people, can't touch anybody, and he's an outcast, even though he has like a rockin' best friend who loves him and Haruka and loving parents and just, generally not an outcast.
And fans online and a really great creative outlet.
Yeah, fan.
Yeah, exactly.
He's fucking tormented in life.
Yeah,
Okay?
and it makes it so tough. And
It's
then
got
he's
a-
supposed to learn that through friends that love is the answer.
He's also got a
Something along
stupid catchphrase too.
Doesn't mesh.
It doesn't mesh.
I'm
No,
pretty
me-
sure the dialogue chart for writing dialogue in this anime was make sure that they repeat their assigned catchphrase every so often, and make sure that when they're going through a hard time, someone says their catchphrase to them.
Yep.
Like Haruka's was like, "I'm positive."
Like, I'm trying to stay positive here, but I'm pretty sure that guy just got stabbed.
Or like the what is that? The stargazers were just like awesome.
awesome.
Like, this is awesome.
We should be in
Yeah.
the mountains.
Yeah, Guy Kishiwada, his is, that's the guy you're talking about.
Yeah.
All I kept thinking whenever he said mountains was just like, you don't go to the mountains because you break your arms when you go to the mountains.
That's true. It's groovy.
I'm so happy that Kobe's watched Handshakers strictly for whenever I reference that.
That's hilarious.
There's
Yeah.
the
What-
groovy guy.
what
And
a joke.
he wants everything to be groovy.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yep.
hated the way
This is not groovy. This is very groovy. This is not groovy.
Definitely put him on the
I'm
list
out.
of like characters that I hate for how they speak. Like specifically, what was that guy's name in Diabolic Lovers? Man, I'm upset that I
The little
forgot.
bitch guy.
Yeah. So I can't hate him forever, but I still do.
The hat vampire, Anthony. I know what you're
Him, God.
He needs to have a nickname for. Oh, let's use little bitch. That won't get old and weird. That won't be weird at all.
Beats
yeah,
pancake.
everyone will love it.
Yeah, bitch job.
Anyway, this isn't about Diabolic Lovers Season 2. We'll save that for another day.
Oh, break my own desk.
And your own arm.
Sign me up for that one too.
That
Why
means you have
not?
to watch Diabolic Lovers Season 1.
No.
Handshakers.
Yes, it is. Don't let them trick you, Kobe. It's even worse.
I stand by that the Handshaker series is not the worst series we have watched.
I think you're a fucking liar.
I have to agree with Jake. I'm sorry, DJ.
And if there's and just by the pattern, the first one's bad. Wiz, I hated, but it's like I didn't hate as much. So like by like the 4th or 5th or 6th season of Handshakers, it's going to be the best anime of all time.
If it slowly stops getting, if it gets better at this rate, at season 10 we'll have a pretty okay anime.
I swear, if they get a season 3 and Dragon Maid doesn't get a season 2, I'm driving all the way over to Japan and I'm punching that guy in the face.
Well, you're lucky, Anthony. Dragon Maid already got announced as for Season 2.
Well, there we go.
And they heard. Anthony did it, guys. Thank him.
Anthony did it.
It's me.
All right. I think at this point we can't really talk much more about it without getting into spoilers. So I'm going to go ahead and throw up the spoilers for Wiz up there. So if you want,
Like there is any.
right?
What are you going to miss out on?
So, I mean, who's looking for this to find if they want to watch Wiz?
Like, oh, son of a bitch.
So if you want to skip to our spoiler-free review, the time will be posted up above. Okay, so I did. I feel like this whole anime thought that Handshakers did better than it did. Because it went, look at this, guys. We're bringing back all your favorite characters. Remember the S&M couple? They're parents now. How's that feel?
They're lead likable characters. Do you like that? I think that's the problem. It's like this show, it piggybacked on everything that about the first season. Like the whole central concept of them searching for Naga and the sister. And I kept having to think to myself, like, why was that guy important? Like, that guy wasn't... I didn't even think of him as, like, I barely even remember him, and I just watched Handshakers, like, 30 seconds before. Like, so when they kept saying, I have to find him, like, he's the one, it's like, why would they make him the one to vanish? Why not make it the actual likable professor who we actually spent a ton of time with in Handshakers, who isn't even in this one?
Yeah.
And like, for some reason...
Yeah, he is. He's in it for,
Barely.
like, 10 seconds.
Yeah,
not
barely.
even 10
2 minutes.
He's in it for
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Yeah,
He's,
2 minutes.
he's not in it for no reason, too. Like, he should be a central
Like
part of this.
sipping on his coffee there at the end.
He's eating
Yeah.
his...
When I
his,
realized
It's not like
that
he's an
was the
expensive
S&M
guest
guy,
actor.
I almost just quit. I was like, wait a fucking second. And I went and looked, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And I was like, nope, this is stupid. I'm watching the son of that stupid S&M guy. No.
I
The show insisted just was way more important than he actually was. Like, remember that time we fought? It's like you were in it for like 30 seconds.
And
you were
then
a
he
dick.
just
No, I
cameoed
know.
the rest of the season.
Yep.
They treated him like he was Tazuna's rival.
he wasn't.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah, so the first episode is so weird because I actually, again, I had a lot of hope. Not a lot, I guess. I had hope. I had minimal hope that this would be better going into it because the first episode had like those the three groups of handshakers like be introduced, and it had introduced the new element of him being able to take anybody in. And I was like, this maybe it'll be a little different. Like maybe instead of getting like villains of the week like we did last time, where it's like each handshaker duo had like 2 episodes dedicated to them fighting. We'll get more development. Maybe I'll actually care about the fights. That was thrown out the window very fast. Very like these characters are even in the opening, so that's again where I thought it would be like different.
Well,
Go ahead.
I was just saying, well, to me, I actually liked their backstories way more than, of course, anyone in the first season of Handtakers, but I actually felt a little bit of, like emotion, I guess, when they went into the backstories of the girls, of just like how they, were bullied and they found each other and they love each other. And same with the Stargazers, who were two totally separate people united over a common bond, and they found friendship there. Like, those moments, like, I worked for me. Like, it was like, I kind of like their motivations, at least a little bit. Like, I understand them more so than I ever did in Handshakers. And I think that's my problem, because I keep comparing it to Handshakers. It's just like, well, of course it's better than Handshakers. And not comparing it by, like, its own thing, but, like, just based off what it did in the first season compared to what it did in the second season, I think it's a step up, and so I count that as a positive.
I liked the characters better as well, the villainous characters.
I just felt, though, that they weren't truly developed until the episode where they got eliminated, which just was very similar to Handshakers to me.
Yeah. I can agree with
felt
that.
Like instead of being like a character with a shtick weapon and like a shtick fucking backstory, they were like just characters who happened to be villains. It was like, okay, that's cool. It wasn't like this guy, he's the card guy, and these two. She's an idol. Isn't that crazy? I'm like, no, I don't care. Whereas in this one, they were like, all right, this guy does this, and he doesn't have a dumbass shtick of a backstory. Like, I was like, okay, I can get behind that.
I could say that as far as like character development go, I will give it the very bare minimum pass, just because like as far as having a developed character that goes into their backstory and their drive. Yeah, I totally agree with Kobe. I feel like there were certain characters that they gave that to, but the biggest detriment is the fact that I'm watching a character that I honestly cannot connect with, in our main character.
That being said, that they had better characters than Handshakers, they still have I don't think they have
zero, absolutely not.
I can give a shit. There's two reasons why I don't give a shit about anything that happens in the show. Right? One is that I don't really care about any of the characters, and two is that there's no stakes. Just like in Handshakers, no stakes whatsoever to this whole situation.
You get knocked out?
If you get knocked out, now you're best friends. Oh, you didn't get your wish with God. Oh, man. Too bad. But you know what? It's going to work out in the end for you anyway. You're fine. Like, it's not like, oh my God, that guy died. I like that guy. What? It's like 2 episodes later, he's like, how's it going? And you're like, oh, yeah, there they are. They're fine.
Yeah, they're sitting in that one coffee shop.
Now. I was actually thinking that the girls like stakes because they're fighting because they don't want to, because they want to be able to hold hands normally is their wish. And so I'm sitting here going, just lose. And just lose and be done with it. That's how you get over it. And then they go, oh, we were tricked. I'm like, okay, that's really annoying because the audience clearly has watched Handshakers, so they know the rules. I mean, they know the rules. Who's watching the sequel of Handshakers? The people who went, I want to know if it's as bad. Those are the same people.
Mm-hmm. So, there's a reason they didn't market this as Handshakers 2 or anything, and they named it something completely different. It's like you don't know going into it. Yeah, it's like Wiz, what's that?
Yeah, but it was like I know that's how they are able to hold hands again. Just lose. And then they go, we got tricked. I'm like, that's a dumb twist.
Can we? I
can't agree more. It's like they're like, we have to fight our hardest so we can save ourselves. It's like, as a person who's seen it, I'm like, actually, no. You
could just be fine. You could just not try to win.
Maybe don't listen to a random text message that you get. Yeah. Just say
actually, I retreat. You are the winner. I'm going to go back to my normal life now. It's not hard. Jesus.
Yeah. I don't understand the inciting incident for the show, which is him traveling to the Zagat by holding her hand to perform a live music show for some reason.
He wants to get the visuals of the Ziggurat.
So, but after spending apparently his whole life hiding this fact from Haruka and knowing how dangerous it is, he does it anyway for the music.
Does it for the memes, man.
does it for the
maybe
memes.
he figured out the actual truth that it's in no way dangerous whatsoever.
It made him the target for all those other people.
And then they beat him in the...
So this was his goal to find friends, really. Just
Yeah,
like,
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much.
There's a lot of
Like, the whole 3 episodes are like, I can't believe you pulled her into the ziggurat. That's the most dangerous place. And I'm thinking back to Handshakers, like, if I remember correctly, there's no danger for anyone.
A lot of your injuries don't stay with you when you come back.
The only reason, I'm like trying to think of why people were sad when they lost. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's only because they don't get their wish. I'm pretty sure everything else is fine for him. And I was fucking right. I was like...
Yeah, it's definitely annoying that they're kind of playing with this idea that you don't know the rules, and we right off the bat knew all the rules.
Not if you're a regular, because if you're different,
it almost makes me think that that's kind of how they were trying to market it. It's kind of interesting that they brought it up. I mean, it's not like I'm looking for like, oh, Handshaker season 2. It's almost like they wanted to kind of get a story reset. But this is something that I think I would have argued if I hadn't watched Handshaker Season 1, that I normally argue with shows that, where I'm supposed to just go back and watch the source material and or know, about the previous material before watching the anime. It's something that, we've kind of discussed on the podcast before.
100% expected you to see.
They 100% did.
When Tazuna comes back?
Yeah.
Like, it's like this huge... For minutes, they don't say who the fuck that is, and you're like, what? If I didn't remember that was the guy from Handshakers, I would be like, what the fuck is happening? But I did, and I was like, oh, they're showing how badass he is, because he's the guy from the first one.
Veteran.
He bikes in Africa or something, wherever he is.
For his job. Whatever.
For his job. He's traveling for work, and then they introduce that weird love triangle to begin with. Like, he's always gone. He's not protecting her like he should. Like, I could do that. I'm 14, and she's like 24 or something.
That's another thing. Kyory's introduction is very, like, you should know who this is. Kobe sent me a snap of the scene where she's trying to reach for the tea.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. There's a scene, they're sitting there in this wide open space, and she's reaching for tea in the background, and she clearly cannot reach it. Like, she is nowhere close to it. She's like trying to stand on her tippy toes, like reaching, like, It does like a wide angle shot of Tazuna and
Yukiya.
And Yukiya, like, sitting at the table, just, like, looking at each other in silence. Like, no one's going to help this woman.
There's also a problem, like, I remember the show, but I don't remember the names. And I think they expected me to remember everyone's names from Handshakers. Because in the beginning, they're like, when they're all at the table, they're like, we've been looking for Blooby Blue and blah, blah, blah for years. And I was like, oh, that's the main guy and the main chick.
I thought so too. It's like, it makes sense. Tazuna's in the place. That creates a story.
I was like, okay, so they gotta find him. Okay, that's pretty cool. They're looking for the main character. That's all right. And then he comes back, and I'm like, wait, I thought they were looking for him. And then I was like, no, they're looking for a different guy. And then I'm like, why are they looking for that fucking guy?
Yeah, had no impact on the story.
Oh my god.
There's another thing here that Wiz does that I weirdly love in, like, the Saw movies, which is, like, every new installment of Saw takes previous scenes from the other Saw movies and zooms out just a little, and you see characters who have been apparently in those movies. You should know who this character was. He was another apprentice of Jigsaw who left the room seconds before we started watching that scene.
He was there the whole time. Yeah, they do that.
Wiz does that with, like, oh, you know this famous world DJ? He was also an assistant to Kyory's parents.
Whoa.
And you know those stargazing kids? They were assistants to Naga and the Shomai loving professor.
That's just such a lazy way to write.
You don't need to tie in every character.
There was no reason for them to be related to the story. It's fine.
And you're like, no, it hasn't. You just connected it just now.
And, like, even the main bad guy for this season is like, oh, Kyory's dad worked for that guy. And I'm like, come on. No, he didn't. He was just... Like, he was studying the ziggurat. Like, that was his thing. Leave it at that. You don't need to make everyone connected. So I thought it was just funny that they they were doing that, trying to make it even more connected, other than just having past characters come back.
In similar roles. That's why I didn't recognize a lot of the people. Like when the little boy who married his sister showed up, like in the sequel, like, and I guess he was the one. Yeah, he was the one at the beginning who gave him the advice, like, go see this professor, because he was an associate of your dad.
Kid?
That was the kid.
Yeah, that was the kid. He brings it up when I had no idea until he said it.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, you were in this anime previously. I didn't even recognize you as the same person. Like, that was him. I was like, oh, okay, I don't recognize any of you now.
Because they're all a little bit taller, except for the guy who was partners with the really short woman. He has glasses now.
I didn't recognize. But you know who's fucking giant? Is the main kid is huge. He like towers above everybody, and he's supposed to be the youngest.
He's the OC. He gets to be giant.
Yeah, he has to be the biggest person in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Really quick, the brother-sister combo found out they weren't related, right? Like their parents were both really young when their parents got married.
If I remember correctly, like everybody ended up having a dumb reason why their wish could get granted anyway in the first season.
Yeah, and that was there. She found out they weren't related.
Yeah,
they still call each other like sister and brother, which is
he tries
kind
to
of
fix
weird.
it because he goes sit and he says her name, and I'm like, still weird, dude.
Still weird after 10 years. You think you would?
Still weird that you can't stop calling her your sister, and it's been 11 years since you found out. Yeah, no. Like, again, I didn't like Handshakers, so I didn't really get a lot out of like the characters coming back into the ziggurat and getting their Nimrods back. Oh, by the way, big complaint I had with the first season of Handshakers was that their weapons were called Nimrods, and I was like, that's an insult, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. After looking it up, I found out Nimrod is actually a famous hunter in Roman mythology.
Yeah.
And so Bugs Bunny calls Elmer Fudd Nimrod as, like, ironically, and then people just started using Nimrod as an insult after that.
Well, that's a fun fact.
Yeah, and so
I didn't know that came from Bugs Bunny. I
didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where, like, that's how come Nimrod became an insult. I'm like, oh, well, there you go, Handshakers. Way to go.
Ruining fucking society.
So, yeah, I just thought it was, like, I just didn't really feel like, oh, badass, like they have their weapons back or anything. I really didn't care. Actually, I take that back. I did feel that once, and that's when Tazna takes his hand and then just fucks over the two young teams. Just because I really like Tazuna's weapon. It's like my main thing I liked out of Handshakers. And
they do look cool, and when he gets into the sword fight with fucking headphones, it's pretty cool. I was like, that reminded me that I liked how the weapons looked sometimes in Handshakers. I was like, oh yeah, sometimes these swords things can look pretty cool because they're like double. It reminded me of like Keyblades a little bit. And I was like, sometimes I remember them looking pretty cool. This is pretty great. And then I remembered the chick with the bouncy balls.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but sometimes they don't.
And then she shoved a CD in her guitar.
That was the final of Handshakers was the balls, the big ultimate weapon.
The ultimate weapon.
Bouncing balls.
Unstoppable.
Yeah. Episode 11 had a really great fight sequence. And it was awesome because it didn't have so many insane angles. It did have shaky cam.
Yeah.
But, like, the big problem with action scenes in Handshakers, and definitely early on in Wiz, is that while they're fighting, the camera is like, I'm gonna float around. Like, you can't tell where the camera is. It's just floating around. It goes underground for scenes. And it's just nauseating. So I thought that one sequence did good. And kind of
is that where the groovy guy brought Tazna in?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I liked them fighting a lot, too. I didn't like that it made no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, did I miss a scene? Like when there was something like, we're gonna fight you now because we want to stop you. It's like, where did that come from?
No, that's he just says it. He goes, we have to fight you because you're working with those people, and we need to stop you because if we stop you, then we can work with those people.
If we stop you, you won't be able to use your powers. You won't be hunted. I think that's why they wanted to beat him because they were being targeted.
Because those people are after you. By us beating you, we will save you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
That's super dumb.
Then they added another scene just in case I was like still confused, where he literally goes, he's like, and just so you know, I want you to know that we're doing this of our own free will. I'm like, what the fuck?
I thought it's like, well, you're clearly a clone. Only clones say that.
Yeah, I thought it was
like,
brainwashed.
I'm like, first of all, that's exactly
they
what
had
someone
to add
who's
that
not
line.
doing something of their own free will would say. All right, just throwing it out there.
I want to work that
whole
into
scene,
everyday
I was like,
conversations now. Whenever I do anything, just like, oh, just so you guys know, Subway sandwich guy who's making my sandwich, I'm ordering the sandwich out of my own free will. This is exactly what I want. So you don't have to worry about it. Like, that raises some red flags.
He's like, this guy's ordering this for a terrorist. We gotta
Hey,
say,
like blink twice if you're being held captive.
Exactly like Kobe. I was like, did I miss something? Did I miss a scene where he had a conversation with the guy? And then I looked back, and all I could find was the scene where she has the conversation with the evil guy and decides that she's gonna help them, the guitar girl.
There's a lot of weird scenes in there that, like, me and Kobe were actually talking before we started recording, that we weren't quite sure the main antagonist's plan. Like, he wanted the power so he could take a factory into the ziggurat and produce stuff fast. But then that was a lie. Because he then just wanted to beat handshakers? I don't know.
At first he was like, in the ziggurat, we can change this and make that. So I was thinking it was like a philosopher's stone type thing, like that he could get like free resources from the ziggurat. But then that was a lie, and then I didn't know what his plan was.
He spoke in very broad terms. He was like, we can solve world hunger. We can solve population problems. We can solve all this. I'm like, oh, how?
Like a pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
If you're
going to get a few
us,
of your friends, and
if you
we're
join
going
with
to
us, all of your financial worries will go away. You will finally get to financial freedom that you've always been looking for. And you're like, that sounds great, but how? And they're like, it's just easy steps along the way.
Fix all of them. No more hunger. We're going to make these weird license plates?
Like, plan.
That's what the factory was producing?
Yeah, what the fuck? At first I thought it was a currency, and then like it wasn't. And I was like, what the fuck is those things? This show.
It's definitely built around the idea of, like, it'd be cool, these things. Yeah, but why do they do those things?
Well, just put them in.
We'll write that
Doesn't
part
matter.
later. We'll write that part later. And then they do everything, and they go, fuck, we didn't write that part later.
They're like, oh,
I don't even think they had that realization.
They're just like, let's put this out there. Because the crux of the whole season is supposed to be main dude and Haruka, right? And and then coming together. But I didn't understand their conflict going on. Well, first, I didn't understand what the hell is Light Music Group? Like, what is that?
Okay, so as a person who's never watched but sees a lot of memes of like K-On and like Haruhi and stuff, a light music club is like a club that just does like a band.
Oh.
My favorite part of the show was when they were going to put on their big performance, and they were about to do it, and then they immediately cut to afterwards when they're just like, this was the greatest performance of our lives.
I thought it was hilarious when he was doing his big DJ performance at the club. They didn't even, change a song that he normally does, but didn't even play the song that he normally does. It was just background music and people going, he's rocking it, man. He's doing good.
They were like, this is even better than rehearsal. It's like, well, most rehearsal has been awful.
I'm like, I can't hear what he's playing, and and then it starts playing the song he always plays, and I'm like, he should be really good at it. It's the only song he knows.
I like how he gets super sweaty. I'm sure that's a normal thing, obviously, but it's just super funny to me.
I also hate that it's supposed to be this like animation showcase of him, like they're like, look how fluid we animate his hands doing the stuff, and then his head pops into frame, and it's so badly animated that you're like, oh yeah.
I was going to bring that up too, yeah.
I just thought it was dumb because his whole thing is like he wants to be known for his music, so he wants to take his mask off, and then he plays the same fucking song. It's like, wait, do you mean you want to be known for your music, or do you mean you want to be known for the one song you've written? Because from where I'm standing, it sounds like you only got one of them.
He's like, oh, I gotta write more?
He's like, wait a second.
He's like, do I not just
sign up for this?
I thought all DJs only have one song. You're telling me Deadmau5 has more than one song? Tell me Daft Punk has more than one song? Another problem I just have with the visuals of the show are the random 3D, not backgrounds, because I like we said before, they kind of dulled those. But the 3D props like
Or
in the first
prints
episode
on the clothes too.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the first episode he gives Haruka the cat mask, and it's 3D.
Yep.
So there's this 3D mask on a 2D character, and it's just weird
Yeah,
looking.
jarring.
Yep.
And they're at one point they're talking at like a table, and the table's 3D, but the food on the table is 2D, and I'm just like, it's so weird. So weird. I can't do it.
I remember a lot of parallels
The
between
animated
like
table in that situation.
yeah. I remember a lot of parallels, that I saw, especially with the original, where I think one of my biggest gripes were the cut and pasted people. So they addressed that. They 3D animate every single background character unnecessarily. I like, whoa! Did you see that guy walking on the bridge?
You know what's faster than cut and pasting people? Just 3D animating them.
Oh, seriously, I'm sure that didn't eat up a lot of the budget, but that and like I don't know why some animes choose to do this, but like they like put like 3D print on certain characters like pants or clothing. Like for instance, the two girls, their skirts had like the moving print, so then when the characters moved across the screen, their print also moved. Yeah, and they did that with the mountain guy too. And like I don't understand like where that kind of comes from, but I mean like that kind of falls into like the whole character, concepts and everything else like that. I don't know. It was poor.
Did your guys' screen get darker at times?
Yeah.
I meant to bring this up because they do it with a lot of action anime now. It's kind of like a regulation in Japan because action sequences with how bright they are and how much is happening tend to cause seizures. So
watch it if you have seizures.
Well, yeah. Well, as a safety precaution now, they have to dim those scenes.
You get rid of Christmas trees too.
So certain shows, right? Certain shows, I'm more noticeable of it. Like Wiz, My Hero does it a lot, and more recently, Shield Hero, in like one of their action sequences did it. And it's kind of just it's annoying, and like I don't get it. Like, but I also don't have seizures, so I mean.
Well,
if I have seizures, I'm not going to watch a show that centers on an aspiring EDM artist.
Right? Dude, I don't know about seizures, but I used to work at a club, and there was this girl that went to the club on her birthday and had a terrible seizure to where she was like seizing for like a long, long time. And then her friend was like, yeah, she does this every time we go to the club. And I was like, what? And she's like, it was her birthday though, so like we had to come to the club. I'm like, no, what? She's like, yeah, this happens every time. I'm like, then stop
going to the club. It's Cartman and Chipotle away. It's like, yeah, Chipotle away just, makes me have severe diarrhea. But the Chipotle away gets all the stains out. They're like, why do you eat Chipotle? Like, it's like, well, you gotta.
I mean, I guess, like, with the anime, you have less choice, though, I guess. Like, with the club, you can go somewhere else. With the anime, if you want to watch My Hero, you gotta watch My Hero. So I guess maybe it's for that. Like, people who have seizures that want to watch it, and now they can. I guess that's cool.
I thought they were trying to take, like, a James Cameron type of approach. Like, we're going to put this cool lens flare on everything, or we're going to just tone down.
That's an excellent James Cameron impression.
Yeah, that's how he sounds.
Nailed it. Guys. Nailed it.
My man, Groovy.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to segueing away, so.
Yeah, that's fine.
Are you sure?
Too. Yep.
Okay. Yep. So another thing I also liked was there was more fights in the ziggurat at night. Because it felt like during the day in Handshakers, and even in the fights during the day in Wiz, it's just so bright. Like characters kind of fade into the background.
The ones at night look way better. Yeah, that's true. Both animes. I probably did because of the backgrounds. That look like fucking garbage when they're lit up.
So when it's dark, you're like, okay.
Oh, hey, this looks okay. Dim everything.
I can actually kind of see what's going on. I'd say that me and DJ, we had a really hard time with season 1, at least in the battle scenes, because I couldn't tell what the hell was going on.
Wow.
And it was in turn with like how bad the camera was rotating and how like queasy and nauseous it made me. In this one, my only gripe with the battle scenes is just like there was so much spinning. Like, who spins that much? Like, nobody spins that much.
You don't spin in a fight like that.
when they shoot him with like the shot and the ladies and the crossbow guy shoot him at the same time, and he like dodges it, but he also does like a fucking 1280 or whatever in the air. It's like, why did you do that?
It's just spinning.
They're like, oh, this guy's good. He knows how to spin. Like a whole lot.
I kind of hate how they beat the Stargazers. Because he just dodges and the bullet hits like the other Stargazer.
He doesn't even dodge. That guy seemed to purposely aim for his guy. It's like, oh no! And then it flashed back to the scene like, if it ever gets in trouble, just shoot me and then it'll be over. Like, but that was a weird revelation to do. And then he gets slashed. And then they have a conversation where he's like standing there. It's like, oh, that was good, wasn't it? And he falls over. And they reach their hands to the sky, just like, yeah, awesome.
I hated that. I like certain self-aware humor. I don't like self-aware humor. It's like, you say awesome a lot. Do I? That's awesome. I'm like, stop it. And then he just continues to say awesome. It's not good self-aware humor.
Because everything is awesome, because he just wants to go to the mountains. And look, I love stars as much as the next guy, but I don't know how like you can get that much enjoyment out of looking at stars every night. Like if that's like your main thing. Like I get it, like doing every so often, like let's look at some stars, but like they're the same stars every night, aren't they? Mostly esque. Well, I guess they change.
They change, but I mean, there's reruns, you know.
Yeah, there's reruns of the stars. Like, oh hey, Orion's looking bright night. Like
it's like, oh, Orion's
cool.
Back.
Well,
it's the same thing as last week.
Well, while I did like Guy and Masataka's friendship, Guy's a bad friend because he like goes up to his like three friend, like his tragic backstory of being lonely. He goes up to his three friends. He goes, "Let's go to the mountains this weekend," and they go, "No, we failed, man, because we were going to the mountains with you so much. We got to study." He's like, "Oh, do 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 do." I'm like, fuck off! You're not.
Go to the mountains with me.
You're pretty popular and you're good at everything.
I'm like, you seem to have a great life. Go to the mountains by yourself this weekend. Let your friends study so they can go with you next weekend.
But no, broke into an observatory.
Yep. Then he's like, nope, got to break into observatory. I'm sure his friends are super worried about him. They're like, he hasn't gone home. Like, we don't know what happened to him. We heard he sleeps in a tent on an observatory.
Hey, ginormous. You guys that is a ginormous tent for just apparently one or two people. Like that's like huge.
I've been living up here to look at the stars, man.
We want to go to space to see stars. Well, you know, if you go up to space, you won't be able to see them.
At that point, they're much bigger. They look a lot different.
Again, I like to bring up things that I do like in a show that is bad. I brought up that one sequence. Another thing I did like was Tamari, the DJ Nielsen's partner.
Ooh, let's get talking. Character in the whole show.
I like that her Nimrod was apparently her outfit that she would rip parts off of to turn into different weapons. So I thought that was creative because I felt like the Nimrods were getting a little uncreative in this one, where it's like
shit, we ran out of cards. We already used bouncing balls. Like we're out of ideas.
It's like we got to bring back old characters who use their old weapons, and then we got to use characters who have the same weapon, and then we have to use a guy who has punching, and then these two guys both have swords, and then I was like, oh, this is getting kind of boring, and then she starts ripping parts of her outfit off to use as weapons, and I was like, that's creative. I like that.
When that was revealed, I thought the writers must have been listening to our podcast, and they're like, all right, DJ from Anime Dumpster Dive, how do we get him? We're probably going to lose him halfway through, this show. How do we get him reinvested? And they're like, all right, we're going to have a girl whose power is to just take all her clothes off. And I'm like, wait a second, what is she doing? Oh, that's the most attention I paid to any episode. Anytime she was on screen, I was paying attention, the most closest attention. I like the fight that you mentioned, Jake, because she's in that.
She's also in that fight sequence. She takes the clothes off in that one. So
what is their relationship? Like, because he had a previous girl named like Jessica who died in battle or something, and then he was nursed back to health.
Got himself a new bitch.
Well, he's very similar to Yukiya, where he can take. He doesn't have a partner.
He's also a regular.
He's a regular.
Yeah, but he only take women. And then it seems like Tamari is his current partner.
Doesn't she call him like
both in life?
Bubby or something?
Bon. both in life and in handshaking.
Yeah. And
So, like, those are a couple that I enjoyed. DJ's mentioned that he's enjoyed that fight sequence and he's enjoyed Tamari's body.
They made a lot of great changes. Like, I think they made a lot of really good, positive decisions on this show. It's not fucking called Handshakers. They're still called Handshakers, but it's not called Handshakers, which is good. Handshakers is a really horrible title, and nobody shakes hands in the show ever. So why is it called that? They also chose to get rid of the fucking fisheye lens, at least the majority of it, which is the best thing they ever could have done for this anime. Like, it was still like hard to watch sometimes because the 3D mixed with the 2D, but the fact that it wasn't randomly magnified in weird places, and then the magnification moves around the screen and makes you want to throw up, that is a huge improvement. Like, Jake was like, the fight scenes were better. I'm like, I think they're better because there wasn't a water drop on the lens the entire time. Like, it's that in the first season that was so bad. So, I mean, like we said earlier, they're taking into consideration some of the stuff that people are saying. So, and by season 10, if they stay on this track, they'll have a pretty good anime on their hands.
All right. So, Kobe, what are some things that you liked out of it?
I liked. What did I like? Okay, even though the villain's plan was stupid as fuck, and I didn't understand it, and he was just a shadowy figure in a big open office space, and I didn't understand any of his motivations. What I liked is actually his backstory actually made me kind of like, oh, that sucks. Like, as a kid, you want to impress your dad, and you're trying to do stuff for your dad, and then you're used by your dad and become basically this diamond factory, and the dad turns into such a dick with just saying, was just like, he's doing what he wants to be doing. And then his relationship with his butler dude, who had his own backstory of he wasn't really a butler, he was like an enforcer who became a butler and for some reason he got shot a bunch of times, and the kid's like, you want to be a butler? I'll save you. I didn't understand that part. But when he came in and actually shot all the people and the doctors and saved him, that was a moment that was just like, I like this. And then they kind of ruined it at the end by doing a weird romantic
where he carries them away.
Yeah, when he carries them away.
I was like,
they have a really strange relationship.
Yeah, I was
like when they're very first introduced, the butler says some weird joke, and I was like, what? They have a really strange relationship, those two.
They were funny in the final, in those end preview credits, their banter,
epilogues.
The epilogues. Those were I laughed at some of those because they were kind of funny. But I guess I just liked the fact that even though they dropped the ball in terms of what the villain wanted and everything, but I liked the villain's backstory in a way that actually made him 10 times better than the villain in season 1, which is Naga. Which is barely a villain. So I guess I like that. And I liked how they utilized the characters from the old show better in this one than they did the last one. It actually made me making Tatsuna a side character who's after his own kind of specific goals. It's nowhere near perfect by far, but it's at least does it in a way which is Tatsuna fighting as this guy who was a handshaker before and he's really good at it and has been through all this shit before. He works in that role. He's as a side supporting character. So yeah, that's what I liked.
To add to Kobe's point, they also introduce the butler and the main villain very early, that was a huge gripe we had with the first season, was that
Naga
they introduced
shows up late.
Naga, 3 episodes before the end? And then he's like, look at me, I'm really important. And you're like, where the fuck have you been?
There's no mention of you.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, but look at how connected to this plot I am. And you're like, I see. Where have you been? And exactly. So they introduce him very early, which I think is much better. When he shows up, I'm like, hey, I've seen that guy. I know this man.
This guy's been making moves. Okay.
Yeah.
How about you, Anthony? Anything you liked?
That's a loose term.
Ooh.
I liked that I could watch the show. I liked that. No, in all seriousness, I suppose that I liked some of the characters and their concepts better than I did the previous characters or cast of the show. I like how they semi-developed, some semblance of a reason why they should be there. I liked their weapon concepts. I think that was okay. And, yeah, not much else.
One other thing I have to add, and it's little, and I hate myself for liking it, but they have a rematch between Tazuna and Reiji, and like Kyori and I can't remember her name. I just know her weapon's name is Bind. And I like that when they're told to stop fighting because it was all a test, that Bind has tied up Corey, and they both have like really cartoony faces on. I just like, it's a cute like little cut that I didn't expect. It's like a cut to this scene, and then I'm like, oh wow, I did not expect that scene to be that. So I just thought it was funny. I thought they did better on the humor.
Yeah, there were moments that I think I kind of chuckled at. I can't remember a lot of them, but I know that there were instances.
Yeah, this isn't an anime I'm going to remember really much.
I agree.
Like, I don't know, like, in a sense, I think that makes it better. It makes it better than Handshakes, but less memorable. Because I can remember I remember a lot about Handshakers because I didn't like it and it was terrible. But I probably won't remember a lot of this because it kind of just falls under an anime I saw. Like, it's that. It's not one of the worst anime I've seen, but it's definitely not that good. Like, now
you're not going to remember his EDM song?
I want to feel it.
I want to feel it. We all sing it different things.
I need to see LA. He wants to go to LA.
Again.
He wants to see you guys. He hasn't seen
I want to see you again.
I want to see LA. It might be I want to feel it.
Because that's his whole point, is he wants to feel something.
Oh.
He doesn't mention LA one.
He's trying to. Kobe's just don't let Kobe trick you. He's just trying to. He's just
reach. I'm reaching.
He's reaching.
It's like now I'm thinking, is it LA? Like,
because he's an EDM, so he wants to see LA.
Yeah, LA's where they make it big.
And then something that bothered me, and it's probably going to be one of the last things we talk about because it's towards the end. It's revealed that Yukiya is the son of Naga and Corey's sister, and he was born in the ziggurat. And I have problems here in this is that Kiori and her sister were born in the ziggurat, and they had horrible things, like a horrible thing happened that they were always going to be transported to the ziggurat, or that they had to go to the ziggurat to develop, like to be able to live, or they needed handshaker energy to stay alive in the regular world.
That's why he couldn't let go of her.
Yeah, that's why he couldn't let go of her.
Yeah. And they're both like really weird and really special and fragile. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yukiya has no
Makes
such
sense.
problem.
Nope.
Yukiya has no. In fact, Yukiya is OP because he can take anyone into the ziggurat, and then he can also bring past handshakers in, and they have their powers even though they lost. So it's just like I thought that was weird. It was like almost like they wanted us to forget that Kyori and her sister were born in the ziggurat. And then another thing is that yes, I get that time has passed and Kyori and her sister were adults because they say that Yukiya was born like a certain amount of time after Handshakers. I mean, born at a weird time and just jumped to the age of 8 when he was taken out of the ziggurat.
It was like, oh, he just aged up 8 years.
Yeah. So I get that Kyori and her sister are of age. Like they were like 14, they're now like 25 in their bodies. But they still look 14. If he was conceived in the ziggurat between this grown man and this girl who looks 14 and is of age, that's morally weird, right?
Too young.
That's too
morally weird.
I thought both of his parents looked too young. Like his I thought everyone looked too young. I thought Tazuna looked too young. I'm like, where's the age up? Like
they got taller.
They got taller.
Pretty much.
They all did look the same age.
But yeah, when they brought up that he was born there, I was like, I had to like second guess myself. I was like, wasn't that the special thing about the girl in the first one? I was like, wasn't that her whole deal? Was that she was born there and like that was her special thing? And I'm like, they're doing it again. And then they're doing it again. Yeah.
I chalked it up because I don't know if it was a throwaway line, and she was really joking when she's like, "I wish that he would never lose a fight." Like, and then Naga's like, you wish for that? And my first question was, you didn't ask her what she wished for? Like, in however long you've been there? Like, what do you guys talk about? Like, just alone like that. But if she can never lose a fight, then that negates his death by being born in the ziggurat
reaching
thing.
Because he can't lose the fight with the ziggurat.
Yeah, and that would lose a fight. He'll never lose anything he ever does.
Some mental gymnastics right there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It's just, I feel like that statement doesn't necessarily add to the story, and it doesn't necessarily take away. I think that, it's kind of just one of those lines that they put in there that I admittedly hope that they were just like, okay, let's hope that nobody else fucking catches this, and we'll just move on to the next topic.
Another very side thing. The girl singing in his EDM song. Do you think he licensed out that track or paid her to sing it, or is he just sampling someone illegally?
Ooh,
I'm gonna say illegally. There's no way he knows what to do there.
Maybe
Fuck
his
copyright.
videos are monetized. Oh,
Copyright strike.
Copyright
Strike that motherfucker.
Boo.
Kick him off of YouTube.
Because apparently that video was everywhere because it blew up because information spread because. The main guy spread. Who spread it? One of the evil dude.
Yeah.
He spread it just to get his name out there, for some reason.
Because the ziggurat's incredibly dangerous, Kobe, and he wanted him to be in danger, but turns out not dangerous.
Well, it's never dangerous. It's how you produce
so
license plates in mass bulk.
Yes, in fact, so not dangerous that if you go into the ziggurat and then lose, you have the potential to meet someone later who can just bring you back in. It's reversing all the development that he previously had.
So if one of you lose in the ziggurat, then you're fine. Because Saba, the butler, lost, right, to the dad because he headbutted him a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And that worked. But then he was gone. But then did he go back in later with his main guy?
It's a rule change. Because in the first season, if one of you lost, you both lost. Because that's how they beat the card kids and the sword and dagger group, is that Kazuna gets one of those ones in a one-on-one fight and wins, and then they both lose. In this one, they have to beat both to win. That
fight was so hype with the dad and the butler. Because he brings out the chains and you're like, yeah, tie that motherfucker up, kick him in the stomach. But he didn't do it. But flashbacks of the first season where...
He tied up
on the ground and he's fucking stomping on her. He's like, "You like that?" I was thinking he was gonna choke him out with the chains and be like, "You like that?" And he's gonna "Yes, I like it."
And then he became a good father. He learned.
Yeah, he was a much better character in this one than and then in the previous one.
It was overstating his importance in the first one.
Yeah,
even my rival, even though he did beat me in one shot. You remember that? Tatsuna, who are you again? Do I know
Tatsuna where I just summoned chains all over the world and it made it really, really hard to see anything happening and then you just cut me? Remember that, Tatsuna?
Remember that? And then just find everything? Tatsuna, you son of a bitch, you're still alive. We need to drink together.
He uses the chains as armor to defend himself.
Which is a callback.
Does he do that in the first one?
No, he doesn't do it in the first one. That's how Tazuna beats him in one hit. Is that he's so focused on attack that when Tazuna gets past his attack, he has no defense.
Does he say something about it?
He should have, but he doesn't.
Because I was like, why didn't you do that? Wait.
All I could think of was, what if he hit me in the face? What if he hit me in the face?
He does say that, right? He there's a line that explains that. He's you're just protecting your chest, and he was like, I figured that you thought you were so much better than me that you could go for an easier shot or something like that. He says it. He mentions that. Yeah.
All I heard was, man, I got so lucky you hit this one specific spot.
No, he says something like, yeah, I knew you would be cocky enough to just go for the easy shot because you're so much better than me, or something like that, or to not go for the easy shot because you're so much better than me. And then I'm like, why did you do that against Tatsuna, dude? If you have that much planning. Yeah. Wait, who's this man?
Yeah, it's what?
I just remember the stupidest scene, my least favorite scene I remember that I laughed so hard at was when they're driving in the bike on their motorcycle, and it's like, son, I got something I need to tell you. You're adopted. And it's that is the worst time to tell your kid.
Well, you can't walk away from you. He has to sit there and listen.
They're on the motorcycle going to fight the final guy. They need to be focused. They need to be in the zone. It's just like, now's the time. I'm going to drop this bombshell. I hope you're okay with it.
I don't want this to distract you in the fight that we're about to have.
But everything you know about your life is wrong.
Everything you know is a lie.
And then,
I could have sworn when the camera panned and you just saw him, it was going to like go swoop around, and he was going to be gone. He got the hell off that bike.
I kind of expected Yukia. Well, then Yukia throws it all away by going, I kind of knew, because there's no pictures of me until elementary school. So, like, now when I was a baby.
And you also look my age. Like even when we have conversations, you're like my cool older brother than you are my biological father.
I also look closer in appearance to Kiori and Tazuna, if anything. So I thought I might have been there too.
That's true. I look nothing like either of you. Of course I am a Tazuna.
I'm not stupid like you.
Weirdly enough, it just reminds me of that scene from Easy A where their son goes, it's like, why does that matter? I'm adopted. And the dad goes, who told you? And it's a white family.
Yeah, it's a white family with black kid. It's like, God.
So the series ends with Yukia, Tazuna, like Naga and their partners going to meet God and getting Yukia's wish. And Yukia's wish is, Kobe worded this great. You worded it as a Madoka Magica wish, where it's kind of just like erases everyone else's wish.
Undoes the fabric of the structure of everything. Cool, you can do that.
He's like, my wish is that all the wishes didn't come true. And then there you go.
Good on them.
Everyone,
he learned his lesson.
Handshakers.
Well, I don't understand why they do that. They're like, what would be a really, buttoned up, uncomplicated ending? You could wish that everyone lives happily ever after, and then we could just show how they do that. That would be a really uncomplicated, nice button ending. And they're like, okay, we should wish that he reverses the fabric of time. And the other writer's like, do you think that would confuse audiences? And they're like, no, that's what we're going with.
Already wrote it down.
Too late.
It's already here.
Too late. It's already being made.
If I was Naga, I'd be pissed because then someone would come to me and say, good news, we undid your wish. And he's like, oh, did you fix my illness? And it's like, no, we just undid it. You're sick again.
Well, no, that's why they reintroduced the Show My Professor, because his wife tells him, hey, I hear that he has I heard that he's almost developed a cure for your thing.
Yeah, which is just, but main guy didn't know that when he made that wish.
Exactly.
He was sentencing that guy to death. He was sentencing his own father to death.
He's like, and make sure no one's wishes came true. It's like, what about the one that stalls my illness? Yeah, especially that one, because I was abandoned.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Joke's on you,
I want him to
adopted father.
I liked when the angry dude got the main villain got his wish reversed, and he no longer was like a diamond creature. And he was just like, I don't know what to. It's like, this ruins everything. I can't swear revenge on them for saving my life. That doesn't make any sense.
The butler was like, I'm going to officer and a gentleman you right now.
That's the movie. That's what it was.
I wanted to play, but I think it's Love Lift Us Up Where We Belong. When he's carrying away.
He gives him that flower. It's just like, oh, Sapa. It's like, this got weird. What do you think God's like? I do you guys like the fact that they never showed a scene with how they really do their, really when they meet God and do their wishes?
I think
yes.
It would have been poorly executed. So yeah, I enjoy that we never see it.
Do you think when they made Handshakers? Swirl. Because clearly at the end of Handshakers is when God appears and it's just like, ha ha ha, just messing with you. But it turns out in the sequel that's the DJ Nielsen, who's what's his role? He's the moderator of the Zergot?
Yeah, he's the defender of the Zergot.
But you're supposed to think that's God. Do you think when they made Handshakers that they knew this guy was going to... They knew that he wasn't God himself?
I don't think so. I think this was a pivot.
I think God is those 3D animated fish that keep showing up.
There's a lot of those things.
Water noises.
This is a place to build factories.
They should build factories here. This is nice.
They should build factories. There's a lot of space here.
Yeah. I was trying to think of another question, but I was like, I'm leaving too much open air. I had one, but it's escaping me right now. I'm sure I'll shout it later at some point. But like, what about this? But I guess before we end this and go into our review and spoilers, I've mentioned before my favorite Nimrod is the one or single gear from Tazna, but I'd have to say my favorite Handshaker, if I had to pick, if someone aimed a gun at my head and said, "Who's your favorite character in Handshakers?" I would actually weirdly pick Ray, the dad, in this one. I like him a lot.
He's a lot cooler.
He's a lot cooler in this, and
they did a lot with him, and they did not do anything with him in the first one.
Really, all I thought was, DJ, you were there when we watched Freezing Season 2, and at the end of Freezing Season 2, the rapist brother got a redemption arc, and the way that you said, redemption arc for the rapist? Is all that was running through my head, like watching Ray be all cool. Like it was like, he's pretty cool now. Like I like him.
Consensual.
Yeah,
S&M.
he wasn't a rapist.
She shows even in Wiz that she is still the S&M freak that she is, because he yells at her, and she goes, "Oh, I like it when you yell at me." He goes, "Don't do it he's like, "Don't act like that in public." She goes, "So I can act like this at home?" And he's like, "Ugh."
That's a bit in the first episode when he's choking her. He's like, "Come on, bitch! Like do more."
He says because they're like, "Whoa," and he goes, "She likes it." Like he goes, "Well, no, she likes it."
So you're saying Ray because that's not who he is normally, but when he's in a life and death battle to get a wish from God, he's still in the mindset of making his wife happy by acting like a horrible bondage person, by yelling at her like, "Come on, do more."
It makes her more powerful because it awakens her emotions. He says it. Like, I hate that I'm defending this in Handshakers, but I like this character.
Okay. That's true. You really are defending.
No, I agree with Jake. I agree with Jake. Right. It is clearly seen that they're a BDM couple, and him kicking her in the stomach enhances her powers because it essentially turns her on, and for some reason her being turned on makes her more powerful. But yes, that is a thing. They do talk about that later. I do agree with Kobe in the fact that the worst two to pick to be somebody's parents were the BDM couple. Like, come on.
They should have made it, because I'm trying to think who else it could have been. Like, it's like, it should not have been the incestual couple.
Yep.
It should have been the restaurant, I guess, owner and that person. That would have been...
Yeah, that would have been okay.
Because they had their lives together. Apparently, I don't even know. Did they downgrade? Did they get fired? Because they were working at this high retail restaurant, and the only time you see them, they're both working behiund the bar of like a coffee shop.
They wanted to open up their own restaurant for their wish or something, so now they did. There's some nonsense.
What a fucking... Never mind.
I think that maybe they didn't get offered the kid because they're not an official couple like the other ones are. Maybe they're just like friends, because it's like every other person is kind of like, "Oh yeah, we're a couple," and them, it's never like hit you in the face that they're dating or even like married or anything.
I was trying to say, what a weighty wish! Like what a universe-altering request. I want to open up my own restaurant.
Hey, you know how hard opening a restaurant is in Japan? Like a successful one. 90% of them close within a year. DJ, you need that wish.
You need God.
You need God to intervene.
And like God's just like, how do we ruin this? Like because he always wants to twist it, I guess, a little bit, right, to make it like horrible. So if their wish, like
they're only moderately successful.
Yeah, only moderate, just enough where like the restaurant's never full, but they never make enough money, but they always have to work all holidays. Just
like they make an okay living and they enjoy their work, but they always have to work all holidays.
Oh, that's a monkey's paw wish right there.
Right up there with becoming a crystal boy.
Crystal boy. Okay. Any last thing you guys want to say?
Not at all.
Anthony's like, I'm done. I've been.
Is
ready.
it Wiz or Wise?
It's
Wise.
Wiz.
Well, this podcast just got an hour longer.
Listen here, motherfuckers.
Because I think I read so. I think it's pronounced Wise.
I thought it was pronounced Wise as well, because that's what the mountain guy calls him.
The mountain guy's the worst guy to say to use.
I don't know. He
He
seems
has
pretty
limited
down to earth to me.
he has
He
a
has 2
limited
broken
vocabulary.
arms.
I bet he broke those ladies' arms.
They were up in the mountain. They see him, and he goes, "Let's have an arm breaking contest." They're like,
No!
What? Crap.
They're like, did you mean arm wrestling? And he's like, no.
hard cut. There. I really like that fucking joke and handshakers. I made up way too much.
That one was good. That was like maybe the only redeeming moment of the whole fucking show. That was pretty funny.
All right, if we have nothing else to say about Wiz, we're going to go ahead and exit spoilers now. Welcome back. If you skipped our spoiler section, really, I think you should check that part out. We have a really good time just talking about the show. Not a good time watching the show, but a good time talking about it.
And if you don't, I'm very curious to talk with you. Like, if I want to know the person who goes to this video and listens to only part of it because they haven't watched it yet and will skip to the end. Like, that person I want to have a conversation with.
They're like, I can't listen to this part because I gotta watch it.
I gotta watch it now. I wasn't going to, but hearing them just shit all over it in that opening section was like, wait, hold on, I'm gonna go binge watch 13 episodes.
And come back later.
Sounds like this anime is a must-see.
So after we go into our spoiler discussion, we like to give our spoiler-free review. And Kobe, you've been on our podcast a few times, so you're pretty familiar with our rating system. Do you want to break it down?
Yes.
Ruin it.
Your rating system, your rating system, there's 3. There's recycle bin, there's the dumpster, and there's the, fuck.
Tasty morsel.
It's a find.
It's a find. Yes, the find is the good one. The find is what is when it's the trash anime that turns out not to be trash because it's actually really good. The recycling bin is kind of similar to that, but in terms of like there's some redeeming qualities and it just doesn't deserve the hatred that it doesn't do. Oh wait, I forgot. If it's a find, then you should stop what you're doing right now and go and go watch it.
If you're not watching it with us,
Hey,
not watching it with us.
Direct.
That's mine. That's mine.
And then the dumpster is just like it deserves all of its hate. It's a trash. It's you should burn it in a fire.
Anthony, what about feeding their baby?
What do you mean?
You should stop what you're doing right now and go watch.
Hey, go
this
watch
anime.
it. Kid's like, meh.
Just drop the baby
Shut
and
up.
go watch it.
Shut up!
fuck up,
I'm
kid.
watching Wiz.
Shut the fuck up, kid. I gotta go watch Wiz.
You can eat later.
Wait, did you go through all of them, Cup? Or did we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
Cool.
I got all 3, unless there's a hidden 4th one.
Yes, there is a hidden 4th one. We call it.
Landfill.
We got-
Only reserved for the worst of the worst.
No, that we do have like a hate Hall of Fame. I keep playing with the idea of doing a quick video, of just like our worst ones. But anyway, that's for another thing.
DJ and Anthony would love to do that video.
Absolutely.
And we have to rewatch all the worst ones.
Oh, no.
Yay. Anyway, so Kobe, since you're our guest, we'll let you go last.
God damn it. I fell for it again.
You fall for it every time.
One of these times I'm going to be like, aha, I know I'm going last.
That's when I make you go first. And you go,
Yeah.
oh.
He goes, and I know how it works here. I go last, so thank you. And he goes, well, incidentally, you're going first today.
And I have nothing.
Anthony, how about you start us off? Because I think, just from our discussion, I think that you actually dislike this more than DJ.
I'm pretty sure that I do, and I'll tell you why. You know, like my hatred for handshakers didn't necessarily translate over to Wiz. And I don't mean to spoil my own review, but there's a couple of reasons why this show was kind of just meh for me. You know, it wasn't a very satisfying watch. It didn't tie up a lot of things or a lot of unanswered questions from handshakers, personally because I didn't find handshakers all that interesting. And it didn't necessarily cover a lot of the bases that I have to check in my own little boxes for it to be a good anime. We see a lot of okay character conceptualizations in comparison to the shows that we watched. They're just okay, you know, and I hate to judge Wiz on kind of the preface that Handshakers was absolutely horrible. It makes, you know, it puts most of our other shows that we watch, you know, into kind of like this I don't want to say good perspective, but it definitely sets the bar for how low a show can actually be. Wiz wasn't necessarily that. You know, I was happy to see that some of the changes were made as far as the camera angles and fight scenes were just done okay. I could actually watch them and actually break down what was going on. B, the character concepts were actually pretty okay. I didn't feel like they were gimmicky in any way, shape, or form. And C, I mean, the story, or lack thereof, was executed from point A to point B. You know, there wasn't some sort of jumpy in-between as far as the story was concerned. So I'd say that it just gets a solid trash for me. It wasn't great, you know, and it's not going to be something that I recommend, you know, that for anybody. I don't think anybody should go watch this show. So stick it in the trash, baby.
I want to point out that me and DJ like to criticize Anthony a lot for saying his review and then not putting it in the category that his review says it will be in. And like that, I was like, oh, Anthony's gonna put it in the recycling bin. That's weird. He seemed like he didn't like it. He's like, trash. I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah, that's common.
That's like, classic me.
It's classic
I'm
just
he'll shit on one, and he'll be like, "So, yeah, I think it's a fine. I think."
I've never been that bad. But I do wholeheartedly agree with that. Sometimes I don't, you know, sometimes like I have the bar and then I just remember my criticisms like of the show like way too much. And then I'm like, but this one's a recycle bin. If you want to watch it, go watch it.
Anthony's like, this anime made me go out to contemplate killing myself and a dog. And then I came back and I went, no. And then I just sat there and then I did this podcast and I think it's a recycling bin. And we're like, what? All right, DJ, how about you?
So this anime did a good job of improving on the mistakes that the first one made, by a good margin. I think they took a lot of criticism or just got better as showmakers. Because there's a lot of shit that I despised about Handshakers that is not present in this show. Flip side of that, there's a lot of things I despised about Handshakers, and for some fucking reason, it is back full force. Like the fucking elevator music is ridiculous. It takes you out of the moment it starts every time there's dialogue. So I mean, you know, they still made some mistakes, and it's definitely better than Handshakers, but that does not make it a good anime. That's like saying like, yeah, I mean, it's better than being punched in the face 37 times. I still don't want to do it, you know? So it's better, yes, but it's still very hard to follow. It's the plot strings along weird. And they introduce things before they explain them to try to drive kind of tension. And I think they overdo that because they're trying to add tension into a show that has no tension. So they're like, we're gonna do this dramatic irony where you don't know what's happening, or we're gonna keep the user out of the loop so you keep coming back because you're wanting to answer your questions, when in reality you're just like, what the fuck is going on? I don't understand. And then they're like, now you understand, and they explain it, right? Doesn't help the show at all. I think they do it to try to help the show, but it doesn't help the show at all. And the biggest reason that they don't have any of that tension is because there's no stakes in this show. The characters, as developed or not developed as they are, it doesn't matter because you never are worried about them. You could love these characters dearly, but you have at no point are afraid of their well-being because you know they're going to be fine. Like, this could be like the greatest written character ever and you love them so much, but you're never going to be worried about them winning or losing because we've already seen it many times. They're perfectly fine after they lose. The main character can lose and just continue on in the series and be there the whole time, and it's the same thing, right? There's no stakes whatsoever. And in this type of storyline, you have to have that. It's not a sitcom, and saying that sitcoms have no stakes is untrue because sitcoms have much more stakes than this show has. So I think that's its biggest mistake is that there's just no tension or conflict. or the tension and conflict that does exist doesn't matter in the end, and you know that from the very beginning. So like, what's the point? I feel like a large majority of the people who even started the show probably stopped watching after like episode 1 or 2 because it's just super stale. Definitely trash.
Well said. For me, kind of hard to an attempt to not reiterate what Anthony and DJ have said. For me, a big problem with this show is that for a sequel to Handshakers, it likes to pretend that you didn't watch Handshakers. And it just is so weird to go through that reiteration of all this knowledge that you already know. And, like, I get it. It's, like, Handshakers wasn't good, and so maybe they're trying to step away and separate themselves from it, but it's just really awkward because I feel like the show is made for those few people that did enjoy Handshakers, because it's more of the same. There are a lot of improvements, and it's a big step in the right direction of where the show should go, but it seems like it ends here. And I mentioned earlier that their My Anime List scores are only like 0.2 apart. I feel like this is more than 0.2 better. I feel like it's...
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I feel like it's half a point, maybe even a whole point better. It's... there. I found myself like more engaged in the fights because they were easier to watch. I found myself actually liking more of the characters because they were around longer than their like scheduled fight scenes. And I thought that having like we have said before, that Handshakers, one of the biggest problems in Handshakers was introducing the main villain way too late. In this, we get the main villain right away, and he plays a part throughout the entire... He doesn't play huge parts at first, but he plays a part throughout the entire series, leading to a fight that is pretty well done. But as DJ has said, who cares? Because the end, there is no stakes. Like, they could have lost that fight.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. They could win that fight. Doesn't matter. It's just not much going on. Not a lot of me caring what happens in the outcome. Just a lot of cool fight scenes. So for me, for rating this is kind of weird because a part of me wants to give it a recycling bin because I feel like people who liked Handshakers would like this. But in itself, I'm not trying to judge it based off its whole pedigree. I just want to judge it on itself. And it's still not that good of a show. So for me, it's like walking past like a trash can and there's a glass bottle in it and there's a recycling bin right next to it, but I don't want to touch the glass bottle that's in the trash, so I'm just going to leave it in there and just be like, it could go in the recycling bin, but I don't want to touch it. So for me, it's trash as well, but teetering. Because,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Is My Anime List out of 10?
Yes.
These have 5s?
Yeah.
If anything, this is like a 3, and Handshakers is a solid 0. Like, making it 3 better, that's a fair score.
All right, Kobe, take us home.
Well, yeah. What is there left to say? I'll keep this short so I don't reiterate. But know that I'm in the same boat as you, Jake. It's so close, I guess, in my mind, between a recycling bin and a trash can. Just because I respect how much improvement has been made, and I use improvement loosely because it's putting lipstick on a pig. It's like still a pig, but and I honestly think if this one small element would have been better, I would have put it in the recycling bin, and that's the music for the show. If the soundtrack didn't make me want to just drill into my brain with like a power drill, like about how often they used it, and if he was actually a good DJ and and the music was better incorporated, I might be more inclined to put this in the recycling bin. I really might, but just because those elements suck, besides all the other problems that you guys just spent reiterating that I won't just say again. Those ones, but it's like the music was really good, and it was a really good EDM song, and I liked the soundtrack to it. I think I'd be more comfortable saying like this could be a recycling bin, but because those elements were like my least favorite part of it, going straight in the trash.
Right. I agree. That's something that could have saved it.
Yeah, better.
They play the music so often, like
Yeah,
And
if it was a really good
bad.
soundtrack, it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh.
So four trash, but better than Handshaker. Wait, Anthony,
Which,
better than Handshakers?
Yes.
Okay, so universally said better than Handshakers, which is,
I mean-
like DJ said, better than getting punched in the face 36 times.
36
Yeah, this
times.
time
Getting
it's like,
punched in the face
35.
20 times.
Yeah.
You're like, oh.
I'm still getting punched in the face.
That's fun. I like that we kind of tricked Kobe into wanting to reappear on this podcast by making him watch a good anime first, and then we're just throwing shit at him. No.
Yeah. Screw you guys.
which ones have you watched now?
I watched the first one I watched, the Madoka Magica movie. Like, that was
There
like
you
a
go.
fun time.
Nice.
And then Blood of Wars, and then this one.
That's a pretty solid group of bad ones.
Yeah, then I
Blood of
watched
Wars is
King's, and then I
terrible,
watched
too.
King's Games with Jake, and that was awful.
Oh,
King's
why
Game
would you
is
do
not as
that?
bad as Jake lets it out to be.
It's pretty bad, though.
He watched it.
It is pretty
It's
bad.
It's pretty bad,
wasted
you're right.
potential. It's a lot
It
of
is so much
wasted
wasted
potential.
potential.
You're building a very fine repertoire of horrible anime,
Yeah,
sir,
yeah. You're
and you
refining
are
our palate.
always
The only one-
a guest on our podcast.
Thank you. The
You're
only one
finding
that
a
I
palette.
need to watch is Diabolic
Yeah, well.
Lovers, I think, to really understand
It's a
the
short
full
watch.
hatred of everybody's.
To
Like,
get
I
our-
just
It's a
don't
short
have
watch.
everybody's main hatred animes. Because DJ is Handshakers,
100%.
Jake is King's Game, and Anthony is Diabolic Lovers. So if I watch all three, then I have the triumvirate.
Yeah,
You
you
absolutely
you have our Hall of Fame because you like our other
The
one is
holy
Blood of
trinity
Wars,
of bad
and-
anime.
Yeah. All right, so again, huge thank you to Kobe for appearing on this podcast. Next month we are. I'm gonna do something different. We've watched a couple bad anime back to back, and this next month we're gonna watch Love is Like a Cocktail, which has not a terrible score on my anime list. It's 6.98. It's actually pretty high for the shows we watch.
Handshakers is a fucking 5. If Handshakers is a 5, a 6.98 is really, really bad. That's these anime list scores are way off. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, but people have said in comments on other anime, because I've seen like GIFs used from the show, that it sucks that people who don't like short form anime work together to downvote this, like to make it worse. So this one is one that supposedly is really good, but got hit by people who don't like 13-minute long episodes. So
We fucking love 13-minute long episodes here at Anime Dumpster Dive.
oh my god, it's not even 13-minute long episodes. This is an easy watch for us, guys. It's 13 episodes with 3-minute episodes.
Oh,
What?
it's like
It's gonna be
anime
the
that
panty.
wasn't
This is
an
gonna be the
anime.
panty season all over again.
That one
No,
wasn't.
apparently there's a
pure
story.
anime.
Apparently there's actual story in this, and it's
It's
funny.
like Diabolic Lovers, kind
So
of.
yeah, so Love is Like a Cocktail is what we'll be talking about next week.
All right.
Sorry, not next week. Next month. Kobe, thank you so much for joining us again. Really appreciate it. We always love having you on here, and you're always welcome as a guest.
Oh, thanks. Thanks very much for having me. It's always a blast talking about bad anime with you guys. You guys are hilarious and insightful and all that fun stuff.
Oh, thanks, Kobe.
Thanks, Kobe.
Now go ahead and plug your channel.
Sweet. No, so if you want a better channel who watches better anime, no, I'm over at the Nerd Blaze with my partner Jeff. We talk about, we do weekly reviews of an airing anime this season, as well as we do a monthly podcast called Anime Ricochet, where two dudes who know nothing about sports talk about sports anime. This coming month, we're going to be doing Fastest Finger, which is like a quiz show anime that we're pretty excited for. Yeah, so check on us
Did DJ just
over there
gasp?
on the Nerd Blaze. I
I
heard a gasp.
did gasp. Like Jeopardy, Kobe?
Yeah, I think it's going to be like Jeopardy. I'm super excited. I haven't started watching it yet. But hey, if any of you guys want to be on it, just, let me know.
DJ's letting you right now that I happen to just be very knowledgeable about Jeopardy.
So
You want? Oh, Jeopardy's great. I'm so glad. Okay, cool.
sounds like DJ just has invited
Sounds like
himself onto
DJ
that
signed
podcast.
himself up. Yeah.
Great. Great. It's a quiz show anime. It's Fastest Finger in the West. I don't think that's the title, but I think it's something like Fastest Finger.
You'll love
Right,
it.
I have
You'll
the
love it.
fastest fingers in the West, so I'm also very knowledgeable about that.
About Fast Fingers in the West. That's good. Not in the East, though, just in the West, because
Yeah.
there's some people over there. But cool. You're in.
Yes! I finally made it, guys.
You're
Jake.
already on it.
You were already on it.
Jake!
Yeah, but he watched a boring anime.
No, I mean, I finally made it, to the big leagues. Which is the 2 anime Ricochet.
Oh,
Dick,
yeah.
He's
Oh,
tied
yeah.
me. He's tied.
I'm not. I am not. I'm the amateur over here.
But I've
But
been
Anthony
like the
watched
one
one
we
of the good
watched.
ones.
I did.
I
really
liked the one we watched. I even recommended it to Anthony, the one we watched.
Well,
It
okay.
was. I mean, it was pretty bland. But
but compared
I think
to all the
Anthony
stuff
would
you
like
watch
it
here.
because he's a swimmer. Yeah.
I watched one of my favorite animes now on Anime Ricochet, and that was Run with the Wind.
Oh yeah, I forgot you were just on that one.
Yeah, Run with the Wind was
that was a
great.
good one. That was a good one.
I've actually told multiple people to watch it already.
That's definitely worth a watch. That's in the find bin.
That is in the fight.
Well, there we go. I call that one the tasty morsel
He
bin.
does. He does
I
call
call
it
that one the free apple crunch bin.
So that's like somebody threw away an apple.
Says that. Nobody says that.
They threw away like the core of the apple,
And
but it still had some good meat on it.
Kobe, and just for
There should not be meat on your apple, DJ. Don't eat apple.
little rotted bacon on
Wait
it.
a second, what? There
Sorry,
shouldn't
sorry.
be.
Kobe, for Anthony and DJ's sake, as well as our listeners, what can you give us a brief synopsis of the anime that you're currently watching for the weekly anime? I can never pronounce it.
There it's out. I screw you, Jake, because you know this is a
I
crazy
do.
synopsis.
It's the nuttiest thing I've ever heard.
It's an anime where there's people with secrets, and to reveal these secrets, a kappa creature, which is like a frog-like creature, goes into their butts and extracts the secret from them and turns the main characters into kappas themselves to fight whatever spirit of the week is hiding its own secret. Like there's a box creature, there's a cat creature, there's a fish creature, and then they beat that creature every week by doing the same thing, which is going around the creature, diving into its butt, and pulling out the secrets. And they find some twisted secrets, like the cat guy liked to dress up like a cat and lick himself, and then the box guy liked to cut up women and put pieces in boxes. And but it's a really funny. It's a really funny anime.
Sounds like
What?
Inception.
And the main
what?
character is a crossdresser to impress his crippled brother. The other main character killed a dude when he was like 6, and then the third main character is in love with his best friend, and it's hilarious.
Sounds like Inception, yeah.
Yeah,
there's
definitely like
not-
Inception.
The Inception anime.
Yeah, they made me
Who are you,
appear.
Jake?
They made me appear on their first episode when I had never watched it.
Yeah, yeah.
It just sounded nuts, so I thought it'd be fun. Anthony,
Is that something we're gonna watch on here, Jake? You think?
I don't know. Kobe's
Or
a
is it
dad.
too good?
No, it's not. It's actually really, really good.
Oh,
darn
damn it.
You got
Damn.
damn. Well,
Yeah, I remember you guys asked me about the swim anime we watched. You were like, "Would it be on your show?" I was like, "Oh no, it's way too good. It's way too good to be on our show."
All right, Anthony, how about sign us off?
Absolutely. As always, we are so grateful for Kobe being on our podcast from over at the Nerd Blaze. Thank you very much, Kobe. We always have a great time when you're here. Always bring us a much-needed third perspective to sometimes our hate train that we got going on. Anyways,
Brings a fourth perspective, Anthony. There's 3 of us.
no worries. Thank you so much again for watching. And hit that subscribe button. Never miss an Anime Dumpster Dive podcast. And hit that thumbs up. That definitely helps out the channel. Check out the Instagram of the artist that did our banner as well as our cute little icon. So that'll be listed down in the description below. Leave a comment down in the section telling us what bad anime we need to watch and or your thoughts if you did happen to watch Wiz or Weiss, however you think it's spelt. And check out Kobe over at the Nerd Blaze. That'll be listed down in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good rest of your night. Bye-bye.
Mayonnaise.
We'll cut there.